All right, welcome back to the Max Van Auken podcast. If you're watching it via YouTube or any podcast platform, I truly appreciate it. I launched this podcast like a week ago, and man, I'm just so surprised and thankful. The numbers have been terrific. You guys have been very appreciative, and I'm appreciative that you're appreciative. So it's a good teamwork we're going on. Just looking at some things here. So, guys, if you're listening it to before Memorial Day, please have a safe and fun Memorial Day. I'm going to be traveling with my girl, my family, so please be safe on the road. If you're listening to this on Memorial Day, I hope you're being safe and you're having fun. I'm from Daytona Beach, and the beach is going to be incredibly packed. So if you're visiting Daytona or you're listening to this from Daytona Beach, please be safe. Get to the beach early. Apply that sunscreen. You know, if you think about it, a little off script here. If I told you you're going to be in the sand, you're going to sweat, you're going to be around a lot of people, and the water that you go in has some sharks in there and some things that can kind of hurt you, would you really go? I know it sounds crazy because I'm a beach person too. I love the beach. Don't have my tan on right now, but I do love the beach. Would you really go? Because I feel like there's so many cons. I mean, I'm going to be in the AC, watching sports, eating a lot of food, thinking about what to talk about on the podcast, but just a thought. But I do want to start off with this. So I have of course, my splendid iPhone, right, Apple device, and you go on social media, and it makes you realize social media can be a huge asset, or it can be a huge issue, a huge problem, and really hurt you. It depends on how you utilize it, what you're utilizing it for. For example, I'm going to type in Kevin Durant. So I'm going to type in Kevin Durant's Twitter account. And I'm sure you guys know that him and Chris Broussard from FS1, who I've talked to via Instagram or on Fox Sports Radio, talk on the show, and he's a great guy. Absolutely great guy. Great, very, extremely well-sourced, well-accomplished, really an awesome guy. Tons of respect, somebody I look up to and try to learn from and really just take notes from. So him and Kevin Durant went back and forth on social media, and Twitter to be exact, basically saying, Chris Broussard's like, it's a nightmare if the Golden State Warriors win without Kevin Durant. It's a nightmare. And then Kevin Durant's like, really, bro? And then they kind of went back and forth, and then somebody said, we all know you're sensitive. He's like, thank you, bro, thank you, I'll chill. Being sarcastic, obviously, commenting to somebody that doesn't have nearly the amount of followers that he has. And that's kind of how you judge social media rankings, how many followers you have, how many likes you have, retweets. So then Chris Broussard has to issue a statement, not have to, but he decided to, which is, he's a professional, and he does, and he basically says, listen, because he said, Katie and I have texted for hours, and then he's like, cap, you don't have my number. And Chris Broussard's like, really? Look, I look at DM texting, like on Instagram, Twitter, like email. I consider that texting. I never said I had your number. And then I don't think Kevin Durant's responded. But yeah, Chris Broussard's like, yeah, we've gone back and forth on Instagram, so I'm not gonna release those to the public because we talk more than just basketball on there. But we have talked via Instagram messages, like multiple DMs. And he's like, we judge these players. We're critical of these players. I understand where they're coming from. I put myself in their shoes. I understand where they're coming from. We're so critical of them. We should be able to receive criticism in return. Chris Broussard is a professional, like I said. Class act, handled it in the best way you honestly could handled it. But my point is, social media can be used as a very, very valuable asset. Like, you can use it for your marketing, your business. You guys know this. It's been around long enough. You're promoting a podcast, such as myself, business, or you're just having fun. You're posting pictures with family, friends. It can really networking. You're reaching out to people you probably could never have gotten in contact with before. Like I said, I've been in contact with Chris Broussard before via Instagram, and he lives all the way out in Los Angeles. I wouldn't have been able to talk to him any other way. So it can really be used for a lot of great things, but then there are people that use it inappropriately. There's people that don't know how to really utilize it. The trolls, they have to hide behind a different identity to like really project negativity and criticism. So there's pros and cons with anything in life, right? Well, I don't think what Kevin Durant did was necessarily a negative. I think it's just who he is, and I think people are expecting something different from Kevin Durant. And if you take into context his history and social media and the way he utilizes it, he's had a burner account before, which basically means a fake account that he was acting like wasn't his, but using that to respond to critics. You wouldn't be shocked by this. You wouldn't look at it as something that it wouldn't surprise you if you really understood the way he utilizes it. And there's not a script on, hey, this is how you use social media. Of course, there's rules that you got to obey by. You don't want to put anything profanity out there and whatnot. But there's no set in stone way this is how you utilize social media. So the way he decides to use his brand and social media is 100% up to him. Who are we to tell Kevin Durant, hey, don't use your social media this way? So like I said, I don't mind the way Kevin Durant utilizes his social media because he disagrees with the statement. He disagrees with what Chris Broussard was saying, the worst nightmare. Now, was he being nitpicky with the you don't have my number, cap? Yeah. And do I think he's sensitive? Yes, I do. And I think that sensitivity will ultimately determine what he decides to do in free agency. But I think people are getting too caught up into judging Kevin Durant and his character based off social media. I just think if you know who he is, everyone handles it differently. LeBron James handles his social media differently than Kevin Durant. Steph Curry handles it differently than him. Russell Westbrook handles it differently than him. I use it differently. You may use it differently. You may just have friends and family. You may have, like I said, a business that you're promoting or job opportunities. So everyone handles it differently. So if you understand the way Kevin Durant has handled it, then it wouldn't surprise you. Now, do I think, just my opinion, because it's an opinion-based business, is I'm entitled to an opinion. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. You may disagree with me. But my opinion is that he doesn't need to go back and forth with people. Especially like people that aren't analysts, people that aren't, they're just trolls. They're literally just trolls hiding behind a fake profile picture, a fake identity. Why respond? Like me personally, like I said, my opinion, there's no need to respond. You have nothing to prove to so-and-so from so-and-so who isn't even from that. They just say they are on their profile. Like, there's no need for that. You're Kevin Durant, who is arguably the greatest basketball player in the world, millions and millions of dollars. He has a lot of charitable events and so many sponsorships and endorsements and plans and championships to win. Why waste your time on these people? I don't understand it. I personally don't understand it. Like I said, I understand that he does it, so it doesn't surprise me. But I don't understand why he would want to do it. But like I said, we're all different people at the end of the day. So it doesn't surprise me, but it surprises me at the same time. Like, why do that? Why? There's no need for you to do it. But who knows? What would Michael Jordan have done if he had social media? Because Michael Jordan's on this pedestal where, and like I said, I love Michael Jordan. I think there's this narrative that I don't like Michael Jordan because I'm a LeBron guy, but I do. Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, second greatest of all time, however you want to rank him. But you hear the gambling stories, you hear like, oh, punch teammates. He never had to deal with social media. So how do we know how these former players that judge the current players, how would they handle it? If Muhammad Ali had a social media, for example, I think he'd be the best at it. I think he'd be hands down the best at it because not only did he promote himself, but what he stood for, he was more than boxing. He was a global icon for what he stood for civil rights, to the whole Vietnam, everything. I think he'd be the best at it because he would have a brand and he would market that brand. Michael Jordan may not be the best at it. Obviously, he's iconic. He's a global icon as well. I'm not saying he would be bad, but he may be the type of guy, because he's extremely competitive, where like his Hall of Fame speech, he still recites like to his high school coach that cut him. Like, he's that type of guy because that's what makes him so good. He has that edge. He has that mentality that you and I may not have, or most people do not have, is that mentality to be better than you at everything. He's competitive with cards. He wouldn't sleep, they would say, like at the Dream Team. If you watch that documentary, he would not sleep. When he slept, they were all surprised, and they remembered when he slept because that's how rare it was. So what I'm saying is, I think we need to take a look at how everyone else handles things differently. You and I may get in an argument. My girlfriend and I may get in an argument. I may handle it differently than the way she handles it. That's just the way the world works. Everybody is different. That is interesting. I think Michael Jordan would be okay on social media. I think he would attack a couple trolls. I think Muhammad Ali would be absolutely incredible. Look how Conor McGregor uses his social media. I think that's a really interesting topic on who would be the best at social media back then. Charles Barkley, obviously, he still uses it, but yeah, that's interesting. That is extremely interesting. I'm trying to think of names that come to mind if they had it back in the day. Magic Johnson, of course. See, like Larry Bird would be the type of guy, like, I don't think he may utilize it, like when back in his day. He's just focused on the game, doesn't want the attention. He's going to go and grind, get buckets, win championships. That's it. He's going to mow his lawn. He's not going to pay someone to mow his lawn. He's going to mow his lawn. That's like who he is. So I don't think he would utilize it the same way Magic Johnson would utilize it. And we see how Magic utilizes it now, but when they were playing. But I did say that I think this is going to affect Kevin Durant's free agency decision. I think it will. I really think it will. Not necessarily this conversation back and forth with Chris Broussard, but the sensitivity aspect, how it comes across to the general public. I think he's very aware of the narrative that he joined the 73-9 Warriors, that he lost to. He was up 3-1 on back when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and he lost to the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, and he was up 3-1 and he lost to them. And he joined them. Now, I was a supporter of this. You went to a better business. You went to a place that makes you happier, a better basketball environment, the smartest franchise right now in the world when it comes to basketball. Why wouldn't you go? If it makes you happy and there's a better opportunity and you can still make tons of money, why wouldn't you go to that? So from a basketball standpoint, I think it was a great move for him, and I think it obviously shows 2 championships, 2 final MVPs, arguably the greatest team of all time. But there are those, and I understand where they come from, is he joined a team that he lost to. And it is different than LeBron James, because I've seen, well, LeBron went to Miami. It's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing, because, and this is where I'll defend LeBron again, LeBron James joined the Miami Heat and assembled a super team. Yeah, Dwayne Wade was there. Chris Bosh wasn't there. Ray Allen ended up coming, well, not the first year. That team wasn't 73-9. That team didn't win the championship before he went. I don't even think they made the playoffs, actually, before he went. If they did, maybe the first round. So my point is, he didn't join the super team. He formed the super team. Kevin Durant joined the super team. And I'm not discrediting what he's done. I think it's a great move on what he's done. He probably wouldn't have won championships if he didn't. I don't know. That team with Russell Westbrook, and that was a nasty team, though. That was definitely a nasty team. And then Victor, that was a nasty team. He may have won, but this by far was the best move he could have done. But now, like I said, just the way he handles himself in social media, you can tell he's obviously aware of the criticism. He watches these sports shows. He understands the narrative that's around Kevin Durant. Now, I have the pleasure of covering the Orlando Magic, and I've interviewed a lot of players in the opposing locker rooms. And you can tell every locker room's different, right? The morale, the chemistry, the way they carry themselves. And the Golden State Warriors have a very smart, educated culture. Like, they seem very smart. They seem like every move they do is calculated, from Steve Kerr to Steph Curry to Klay Thompson to Draymond Green. They all know their role. They all know they're one piece of the puzzle. They have great management, Silicon Valley. They know what it takes to win a championship. They're not just talented. They have that grit. They honestly know from the ins and the outs what it takes to win a championship. They have tons of self-awareness. They don't base themselves off how much money they make. They base themselves off of their accomplishments as a team. Again, Klay Thompson got snubbed off All-NBA team. He's like, I'm more worried about winning championships. Yeah, I think I should have made it, but I'm more worried about winning championships. This team's self-awareness is absolutely ridiculous, and that's why they're the greatest. That's why they're the greatest. They're the smartest, most self-aware team. So as I was saying, when I was covering this Orlando Magic team, I was going to the Golden State Warriors. I talked to Klay for a brief second, came out, and Kevin Durant was walking back through the tunnel. And, of course, everyone's like, hey, sign mine. And then you have a couple trolls in there. Well, one of the trolls got his attention, and I believe he said, come on, KD, that's why you went there. And Kevin Durant turned back like this. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm turning my head. He looked at the guy with an angry look, and he walked back. It bothered Kevin Durant. It bothered that guy that he's never met before, has no idea what he does. Bothered Kevin Durant, the best player in the world right now. Bothered Kevin Durant. Some troll against the Orlando Magic, some fan, bothered Kevin Durant, the best player. And I saw that firsthand, because you hear things, right? But it may not always be true, or you see something in person, it's a little different. People act different on social media. You see them in person, they're a little different. Or the people that always love your stuff, but you see them in person, they barely know you. Like, there's that type of stuff. So I wanted to see it firsthand. Like, hey, I really want to see how he carries himself. Does he really get paranoid with these people, these comments, these critics? And I saw it firsthand. I saw it. He was bothered by it. A guy that he has no idea who he is, he was bothered by it. So I think Kevin Durant realizes the narrative, and I think he's going to win another championship this year, whether he plays or not. I do think the Golden State Warriors can beat Milwaukee or Toronto without Kevin Durant. It's obviously tougher, and I talked about that on the other episode, I think episode number 3. It's obviously tougher, but I think they can do it. Because you see the fatigue kicking into these guys that have no idea what it's like to play in the postseason. These young teams like Milwaukee, Giannis is absolutely incredible. He's never been this far in the postseason. It's never been this far. It's different. It's a different atmosphere, different intensity. It's a different toll on your body. The Golden State Warriors are making their 5th straight finals. They know the ins and outs, what to eat, what not to eat, when to rest, when to take a couple plays off, when not to. They know that. And they look fresh, so I think they can win it. And if they win it, that looks even worse. Then if Kevin Durant doesn't return off this injury that he has, which they say he will, but probably will miss the beginning of the finals, I think he's out of there for sure. And I think his opinion and where he decides can sway. If the Golden State Warriors sit in a room, I think he can be convinced to stay. But if he goes to the Knicks and they convince him, I think he can be convinced to leave. I don't think it's a 100% either way. But if they win without Kevin Durant, I do think more than likely he's gone. And then you could talk about where he goes, probably the New York Knicks. I really don't think the Clippers or the Nets. I think it is the Knicks. But I think he leaves because this narrative, and he constantly shows us on social media without saying it, he's aware and he watches. And the biggest criticism of Kevin Durant is that he joined the 73-9 Warriors. So if you go to a team all the way in the East Coast, New York City, the mecca of basketball, huge market, and you go and you win on a dysfunctional ran franchise, the front office, the owner, and they seem to get a couple things in groove now. I do like Fizdale. I like the new GM. I still don't like James Dolan, the owner of the New York Knicks. But if you win there, it's yours. You're 100% the man. You did it. And you may have a couple players come with you, but you didn't join a super team. And then I think it's like when LeBron won in Cleveland, you can tell that ring meant more than when he won in Miami. He won't even deny it. That's what I think Kevin Durant's seeking. And he copies LeBron James. Right? LeBron James' mobility. He moves. And then I think he sees that he went back and he won a ring and how much more that meant to him. And if he won in New York, it may not be the Oklahoma City Thunder where he goes back to Thunder, but it's going to a team that hasn't tasted success in so long. If he can generate that success and he could be the sole cause of why that happens, he gets all the credit. He's the man. He did it. Kevin Durant did it. That ring is worth 2 rings. That's worth 2 rings. Now, I don't think he can do that. I honestly don't. And to just go to the Knicks and win a championship, that's hard. That's hard. That's extremely difficult, as we see. When's the last time the New York Knicks won a championship? Even with Kyrie, I think it's extremely hard. But that's a discussion for another day. But I do think that's what's going through Kevin Durant's mind. And like I said, this social media thing between him and Chris Broussard, it may be small, right? It's not about his free agency. But I think it represents the grand scheme of things. It represents his awareness of the social media and the narrative that's around himself, Kevin Durant, and that ultimately will decide where he ends up going. Oh gosh, you guys, I appreciate the questions here. I got a couple questions right now. Remember, Instagram, Twitter, even Facebook. Facebook's more my family thing, but of course I'm going to post the podcast on there. Ask away. I have a couple really good questions here. Max Van Auken, and you can send your questions whenever you want. The DMs are open. And now I haven't looked at them. This is my first time looking at them. I'll get to them. Wow, great questions. All right, so yeah, wow, great ones. Well, all right, so I said tonight is Game Five between Milwaukee and Toronto, and I'm recording this. And one of the things I'm noticing is this is the first time in a while we don't know who the best player is. And I think Giannis has been nominated the best player. I think it's Kevin Durant, but then a lot of people say Giannis right now. He's young, he's athletic, he's 6'11", dunks everything, finishes around the rim, made All NBA first team. And have you noticed who's shutting him down? It's Kawhi Leonard. It's Kawhi Leonard. So then you have Kawhi Leonard, who held him to 12 points, 8 turnovers, won 2 in a row in Toronto. Now, he's making a case to be the best player in the world. Kevin Durant doesn't play Kawhi Leonard's level of defense, and I think Kawhi Leonard may be able to do more with less. And that's one of the critiques of Kevin Durant, and that's why I think he'll go to the New York Knicks, is your ability to do more with less. Like Giannis, what he's able to do with this squad, go to the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly the Finals. We also have Steph Curry, who is absolutely ridiculous. I think he averaged like 36, 37 points against the Portland Trail Blazers, like 8-8. And they swept the Portland Trail Blazers without Kevin Durant. You have LeBron James, of course, who I still consider the best player in the world, and we'll honestly see if that's true next season. We'll find out who the best player in the world is. So Kawhi, Kevin Durant, Giannis, Steph Curry, and LeBron. All you can make a legitimate case for being the best player in the world. It's absolutely incredible, and I think we're starting to notice how much talent's in the league, but this uncertainty, I think, helps the league. I think it does, but it brings me to my point, is that even though I think it's good to have competition, competition's healthy, you have to have the face of a league. You have to have the face of the league. You have to have the face of a business. You have to have the face of something. The NFL, you think of the Shield because that's its brand. It's not a particular star. That's its brand. It's the Shield. Golf, I think of Tiger Woods. He may not be the best right now, but I think of Tiger Woods. UFC, I still think Conor McGregor. I think John Jones is the best, but I still think Conor McGregor / John Jones, but I would still say Conor McGregor. The NBA, I still think the face of the NBA is LeBron James. And I think this is where the tides are starting to turn here because next year, if it doesn't go his way, I think we're starting to see the new face of the NBA, and we have 5 people competing for it. But that's if LeBron James doesn't have a successful year next year. And that kind of leads me to my report. So Kyrie Irving, Bleacher Report says, I think it was Windhorst, he says that Kyrie Irving and that LeBron James chapter is not necessarily closed. Like, it's definitely a legitimate option. And if you think about it, it makes all the sense in the world for Kyrie Irving. It makes all the sense in the world for Kyrie Irving. Why would you not go to a place that's great? Because he's talked about not wanting to play too long in his career. He's obviously thought about basketball, his career post-basketball. Why wouldn't you want to go to LA? LA has everything you want post-basketball. He's already been in Uncle Drew, which is absolutely awesome. And the thing about him is he has, I think he's realized he left LeBron the first time. He wanted to be the guy. Boston necessarily wasn't on his list, but he realized he was in a great system with a great coach, a great culture, with a franchise with a winning history. So I think he was able to try to make it work the best he could. Was he happy? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was necessarily happy, but I think he realized the situation he was in. And I think that he realized that he's not a 1. I think he has the talent of a 1, but not necessarily the mentality of a 1. I don't think he wants to answer every single question all the time. I don't think he wants all the criticism. And I think that's something he realized with LeBron James. Like, hey, if I get LeBron, I know what I'm getting with LeBron. Yeah, that organization with LA may be dysfunctional, but I know what I'm getting with LeBron. I'm getting a guy that's been used to handling these situations, answering questions since he was out of high school, going into year 17 or 18, I think it's 17. And I know he'll be the one that has to lead these young guys. He'll be the one that has to answer these questions. All I have to worry about is getting buckets. And then after that, I'm in LA post-career. And then if LeBron retires, I'm in LA as the guy that can possibly attract other free agents. So I think this Kyrie to LA really is something. I think it's starting to grow legs. I don't think it's necessarily number 1 in his book. I think New York Knicks probably is a little bit more. But the fact that LA is not written off is a huge, huge story for the NBA because they need LeBron James back. They need the Lakers to be relevant. 6 losing seasons is awful for the Lakers. With the reputation, with the history of winning championships, 6 losing seasons is awful. Absolutely awful. What they're doing in the front office is disgraceful. And it's frustrating. Like I said, I'm a Lakers guy. It's frustrating to see the dysfunction in the LA franchise. So to have Kyrie Irving still consider that a possibility is something that's really remarkable for LeBron James and the Lakers. But let's get to these questions here. Oh God, what a great episode. So all right, number one, most improved NFL team from the draft and free agents, and your biggest sleeper team to make the playoffs? Great question. I haven't got to cover too much NFL yet. Pod is still new. But I will say this. I think the Packers are a huge sleeper. I think Aaron Rodgers, and I know Matt LaFleur is new with him, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have an MVP type season. I think he's actually my early MVP pick. And I think he's going to be, obviously, it was a disappointing season with him and the injuries and the firing of McCarthy, all this drama. I think this is really when you're going to see a re-energized, a re-motivated Aaron Rodgers with something to prove. When you're that talented, sometimes it's hard to say you have something to prove. I think this season he has something to prove. So most improved NFL team, and then obviously you can say the Browns are up there, obviously who they've required from the draft and free agents and your biggest sleeper. Free agents, obviously, the Jets getting Le'Veon Bell, Odell to the Browns. You have all Antonio Brown to the Raiders. There's just so much free agency going on here. Your biggest sleeper team to make the playoffs. Ooh, I think the 49ers are going to have a really good year too. So you can kind of mark me on that one. As I think the Packers and the 49ers. And I don't, it's crazy to say Pittsburgh's a sleeper because of the history of Pittsburgh Steelers. But the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think everybody's thinking since Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell left that they're going to just fall off the planet. And there's a few people out there that will say no way. Of course, Pittsburgh fans will say no way. But on paper, you're losing two of your three best players besides Big Ben. Of course, you still have Juju, and you think you're just going to fall off. But if I have a Hall of Fame quarterback, a number one option in the receiving position, and I have a great coach, they're not falling off. I think they still win that division. So that's a sleeper. Even though it's the Steelers, it's a weird sleeper. WNBA and NBA merge. Should they allow females and males play against each other? No. No, they should not. And I think it's just... I think it should stay separate, right? I think it should just stay separate. WNBA is an awesome league. Those females are extremely talented. The NBA is an awesome league. They're extremely talented. I don't think we need to mix it. I think both have a really great system going on already. And I don't think a merge is anywhere near the future. Is LeBron James still the best player in your eyes? Yes, he is. I have 15 years to work with of greatness. I have 8 straight final appearances. I have 3 rings. I have 4 MVPs. So one season and a move, I'm supposed to think he's just fell off the face of the earth and he's not the best player anymore. One season of not making the playoffs, and he had his first injury in a while, and the rest of the roster has been injured with a young team, with a dysfunctional front office, and all of a sudden he's just not the best player anymore. I'm not buying that. Now, that may be the case. I'm not buying it. I need to see next season. I think LeBron James next season is remotivated, and it's hard to overcome a dysfunctional front office, bad management, but I think you'll see how productive he is on the court, and if he gets a free agent, you'll really see that. And a deep playoff run, can't guarantee a championship until anything happens with free agency, but I think LeBron James is still the best player in the world, and next season will honestly determine if I'm right or if I'm wrong. Where will Anthony Davis land? I don't think anyone really knows, right? Because he's a New Orleans Pelican right now. The Lakers want to trade for him. They're interested in Lonzo Ball. The coach really likes Lonzo Ball. So I don't think they want to trade him to LA. I think it was the owner that said over my dead body or something like that to trade him to the Lakers. I want to say the Lakers, given all that, but I really do think it's the Knicks because I think they're going to realize if he doesn't want to stay, and I think they're going to try their best to get him to stay. I really do. But at some point you have to realize if the guy keeps saying, I don't want to be here, it's time to let him move on. But I don't think they want to give him to a rival in the West Coast. I think they're probably going to want to give him to the Knicks because they can receive R.J. Barrett, who's the third overall pick, who will be the third overall pick. So a third overall pick. And then that will help Zion because it's his buddy with him. And then I think that they're going to just get some assets from New York. Now, will he stay in New York? I don't know. But I think he probably ends up in New York. I'm hoping that the Pelicans consider giving it. David Griffin said he would. The best offer is where he'll go. Because I do think the Lakers have a lot to offer. And so I think it's a two-team race between the Lakers and the Knicks. Hey, great pod. Do you really think Cam Reddish will be better than R.J. Barrett? Well, thank you. Yes, I do. And I think Cam Reddish is just a typical NBA scorer. I think he's going to really excel in this league. He's long. He's lanky. He can shoot. He can handle. He can really do it all, and I think he'll get drafted after talking to Rashad Phillips and looking into it. I think he'll get drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, and I think that's a great fit for him. To have Trae Young at the point, the spacing, the shooting, the scoring. I think there's just more transferable skills I see in Cam Reddish than I do R.J. Barrett. Now, it doesn't mean R.J. Barrett's going to be a bad player. I just have tons of confidence in Cam Reddish and being a great NBA player. All right, that's it for that one, guys. I appreciate the questions. Like I said, you can ask away at Max Van Auken on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you feel more comfortable with. Had a good rant about social media, so utilize it the way you want to utilize it. Download and subscribe to the Max Van Auken podcast. Like the YouTube page, thumbs up. I appreciate you guys listening. The numbers have been